Well, if I click view stream on Facebook, it then just takes me to facebook.com. So presumably, therefore, you're still doing it to yourself. That sounds wrong, but you know what I mean. Only me is set.
Well, I'm recording now, Lard. Let's just try this.
Can you not change the
stop live stream? It says it's on, but I can't see it. Let's see if I'm back on Facebook.
Oh, so you can't see it on Facebook, or if you can, no, okay.
I can't. Just try again.
Mind you, saying that, we don't really interact with people on Facebook anyway, do we? And you can always upload the recorded video afterwards.
Yep, that's true.
Yep.
Well, we're recording. Let's go for it. Lee's a bit pissy today, so there we go.
Oh, hey, Mendel's up in here saying he wants to join.
Yay.
Yeah, but he's not in the panel. He's not attendee either. Put the link in. Can you put the public link into Slack for us?
It's in there.
It was. Yes, I copied it and posted it on Twitter earlier this morning.
Well, ask him to use it, and then I'll let him in.
Yeah. Come on, Mendel.
Come on in.
Jump up in here. Come on.
Welcome.
Welcome to the jungle, baby.
Welcome, foolish mortals. Oh.
Where is he? Where is the dozy fucker?
Well, if this is live on Facebook, there are some children crying at your language. Right?
Be civil now, Jonathan.
He don't care what I say. He swans round the world visiting world camps. My God, bloody hate
well, that's his job.
Wish I would. Go, Dad, if you want to send me to world, well, that probably would be a good idea. He's much more tactful than me. I've just shown that. Come on. Where is he then?
I don't know. Well, he said this 14 minutes ago. Just go ahead. Run
All
this down him.
Yeah. Get my notes up. I've got a bad eye. Jesus,
I just thought you were winking at me.
Yeah, right, let's go for it.
Back and everything. I thought we had a moment.
Right, calm yourself, Jonathan. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, folks, to WP-Tonic. It's episode 306. It's our round table show on June 29th, 2018. I've got a rather lively panel. I'm sure some people will
Hello.
Here we go.
Yes, we have missed Julie.
Yes, back
We've got a mischief and very lively panel, and we're going to be discussing some news stories and stories that we just found generally interesting. I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves. I'm going to start with John. John, would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
John Locke of Sacktown, and basically I do SEO for industrial and manufacturing. There you go.
Here we go. And Sally, would you like to introduce yourself?
Certainly. My name is Sally Getch, and my business is WP Fangirl. I build custom sites for growing businesses and nonprofits, and I'm the organizer of the East Bay WordPress meetup in Oakland, California. And ADD Kitty has just joined us.
Hey. It would be the same with ADD Kitty. And Lee Jackson.
Hello. Yes, my name is Lee Jackson. I am the founder of Angled Crown. We build WordPress themes from design agencies' designs, and I'm also the host of the Agency Trailblazer podcast.
And a very great podcast it is.
Thank you. Anyway. I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. Been on fire.
We're about to launch 60 episodes in a row, by the way, guys.
Woo.
Nice.
We're about to go crazy. We're into. Well, I'll tell you later. Ask me about it later. I'll tell you.
All right. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, sorry, this is not an advertorial. I apologize.
Exactly. Before we go into the main stories that we're going to be discussing, I like to mention one of our sponsors, and that's Kinsta Hosting. If you're looking for great hosting for yourself or for your clients, I cannot recommend Kinsta more than I've been doing. and I've been recommending it, singing their praises all over the internet. And I do it because I actually, not just because they're a sponsor of the show, I actually are really, really very, very happy with their hosting of the WP-Tonic website and some of my own clients' websites. It's just frigging amazing. Really, they're big enough to have all the bells and whistles, but small enough to still care. And I made up that catchphrase, and that, I think they should use it myself, but there we go. And what can I say? You've got staging site, you can choose all the latest versions of PHP. The interface is superb, and it's just amazing. Just amazing. So if that sounds interesting, go to the WP-Tonic website and use one of the affiliate links, and you'll be helping yourself get some really fantastic hosting for yourself or your clients, and also you'll be helping the show. We've had another great member of Adam from WP Craft to join us, and he looks very puzzled. He looks extremely. Is he even listening? I don't think he's got sound, has he? Oh, well,
I don't know.
Don't know. He looks. Have you got sound, Adam, or are you just looking puzzled? No.
I don't even know if he's on. I'm just praying it's not No Pants Friday.
Oh, he looks so puzzled. He'll join us when he's sorting out his technical stuff.
He's sorting out his OBS. That's what I just did a second ago. I put OBS camera on with all my logos and everything. That's what he's using.
He's got audio problems. He says in chat he's got audio problems. Oh, poor guy.
But he's looking darn handsome.
Yeah, he does. He looks a beast, doesn't he? Let's get started before I totally lose. You're terrible, Lee. You know that. You're bloody shocking. Let's get the first story going. WP Engine requires StudioPress. Who wants to start with this?
Acquires.
Yes, although they may require some things also. So yes, I woke up this morning and this was all over everything, including, of course, the Genesis Slack team. And I work with Genesis, and I spend a lot of time in that Genesis Slack, and I had no idea this was happening, although as we've discovered before, I'm not very good at predicting these things. And once I started thinking about it, it seemed to make more sense because StudioPress has experienced with a variety of hosted solutions for websites to accompany their theme business. And they obviously never quite latched on to the correct formula because they just kept replacing it with something, and then the Rainmaker part of the business went away in 2017, and merged with another marketing company, and sort of, I'm not sure. I mean, they've still got a website up there, but from what I've read, I don't really know what's happened to that. And so I think it makes sense from the StudioPress angle there. We have seen hosting companies acquire different sorts of things, although I think both the Woo Themes and the iThemes acquisition had a lot more to do with plugins than with themes.
Yeah.
I do think that this will probably help in terms of things like, creating the new improved Gutenberg compatible version of Genesis, but there's been a lot of flap about it, but a mostly positive response, and until I see something dramatically awful happening, I'm going to look at it positively.
I would agree there. I think, it says that they're going to heavily invest. So as soon as I see that, I'm happy. I'm easily bought when it comes to getting some extra developers in there, etc. I think for WP Engine, it's also a massive PR thing, isn't it? I mean, they're already getting everybody talking about them for a start off. This whole area, there's a massive community.
Don't talk about them. Talk about Kinsta, folks.
Yeah, there's a massive community around what they've purchased. So, and if they are going to continue to heavily invest, it is a very good PR It's a very good PR thing. It's like, I mean, GoDaddy have such a bad rap for years, and then you notice they slowly started to purchase different WordPress services, WordPress related things, and
Yes, well, they started to do a bunch of other stuff too to
yeah,
clean
exactly.
up their act.
And slowly but surely they've been pulling back some of that negative press that they've had and started to gain some new fans. I think they've still a long way to go. So
well, yeah, if they could just get their hosting in order
yeah,
now.
well, that would be great, wouldn't it, if they could? But I mean,
Well,
WP,
that is the fundamental problem. Sorry.
no worries.
But they never sorted out the fundamental product.
Exactly.
I'm not even sure. Yeah, I can understand why they bought it. Yeah, but
Well, I'm going to jump in. I think this is why they bought it. I think that what you're going to see is in the fall, they're planning to offer Genesis themes to all their WP Engine customers, which, I was talking in Facebook with somebody else. They said, yeah, and they're still going to need a developer to make any like changes, which is absolutely true. Genesis is not for newbie people, but it'll give people a starting point. I think it'll be a value add. Maybe you'll see WP Engine make a price adjustment to their plans. In the wake of that might happen. Think of it as like a more upscale Mojo marketplace. But
right. Well, you also have the fact that WP Engine has just been rebranding itself as like your digital experience platform. Like, hello, what's that when it's at home? But they're aiming themselves at the kind of clients for whom Genesis is suitable, because those are the kind of clients who want custom work done for them, and not the ones who want to do the DIY approach.
I don't know if my audio is jacked up. Am I okay before I say anything?
Yeah, you got your
jump in, man.
Okay, I was going to say the kind of people that use Genesis, they're going to use the host that they're going to use. Just because XYZ company bought it, they're not going to say, oh, I'm going to go with that company now. They go with who they go with. And they are tending to choose more premium type of hosting providers like a Kinsta or even a WP Engine. So you figure these people, they're either already using WP Engine or they make up their own mind. I don't think Genesis offered for free pushes a needle anywhere. That's why this thing is so baffling. Maybe Mendel will have some insight because he works with GoDaddy, right?
Yes, can you tell us, did you actually try and buy it, Mendel? Did GoDaddy actually bid for it?
Is Adam really here?
Yes, he is.
Well, he looks like a caricature of the real Adam. Because
there is sort of a bobblehead effect on the camera.
Oh God! Children, please be civil. Come on, Mendel, you're going to give us a scoop. Did the GoDaddy empire try and buy it and got beaten to the draw, did they?
I think the Genesis is interesting.
Oh, you're not going to answer my question, are you? You're going to just...
Well, I don't think that's Mendel's part of the business.
With WP Engine, I think that's an interesting. It's an interesting play. It seems like an odd move considering how popular builders are, right? It seems like the landscape is moving towards builders and away from frameworks. And so I wonder why they did it, if it was for customers or if it was for like love of the community or what exactly it was. It's also kind of interesting because WP Engine positions themselves as a mid-market to enterprise solution for hosting, and that doesn't strike me as the same people that use Genesis. I don't imagine that Genesis is being used on a lot of enterprise projects. I would assume there's probably a bit more custom when it comes to theming some of those enterprise projects, but I might be totally wrong. I guess.
I think the thing is the people who develop with Genesis, like me, tend to have clients who are in the mid-market to enterprise range, right? There are a lot of So, which is a little.
Sally's breaking up for me.
Sally's buffering.
Yeah, she's buffered.
But
Obviously the gods
good.
didn't like what she was saying.
I guess not.
Good,
No,
now I
it's
get a word in.
Comcast is being funky, but
Maybe they tried to buy Genesis.
oh God, don't know. It's
You know,
but
obviously Mendel
yeah.
wouldn't answer my question because that answered it. Obviously, GameDaddy did try and buy it, and there were the bunch. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? I just want to quickly say, I kind of partly agree what you were saying, Sally, and I partly agree what Adam was saying. But I think the only thing, Adam, is I think it was a real play to the developer community that are really very vocal and that use the Genesis framework, and it was just it's just a mythology to really get more into that developer group. And let's face it, Adam, their staging site and the original kind of features that they must be praised for, they kind of did have a couple of elements that were really original, Adam, in their hosting packaging, which really appealed to developers, and they were the main ones that really, I feel, really pushed WP Engine when it entered the market quite effectively for what it was. What do you reckon, Adam? Am I just talking crap? Or?
Well, this one's so baffling. You guys can hear me, right? It didn't do the switching thing. Sorry, I'm just rusty.
You just cannot resist playing with your knobs, can you?
Well, so here's the thing. GoDaddy bought a bunch of companies, but those all kind of made sense, right? They bought companies to enhance the service offering, which was to manage multiple websites very easily, to to secure or to remove malware and keep things secure. Those all made sense to me. This makes no sense to me. Agencies are going to use what they're going to use. It's hard to say this is free. I just don't see it at all. And I don't see I was thinking maybe the buyer list, right? They want this list of customers and all that, but why would they do that? These guys are easy to find anyway. You know what I mean? And then they made mention in their article about their Facebook group. I'm like, did you buy this company for a 10,000 member Facebook group? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
the price was right.
The price was right. What about you, Lee?
No, I think this goes full circle as far as I'm concerned. Back, I did mention it earlier. PR. I think a lot of this is PR, but also I think Jonathan, you kind of hit the nail on the head with regards to encouraging the sort of people that are using the Genesis framework, using these sorts of themes or involved in it, are very developer centric. And the WP Engine framework, obviously Kinster's amazing, but WP Engine itself is also really cool because of all the dev tools.
Oh, Kinster's better.
To do staging, etc., etc. So if there is that sort of link, do they have all this extra traffic they can drive? And WP Engine are very easy to find.
I'm on a one-man.
Jonathan, I've got an opinion that I have to give because I think, and Sally's going to hate me for it, but this is going to be good because it's going to be controversial and it's going to be messed up, and everybody's going to hate me for it.
I love you, Mendel. Even though you wouldn't sponsor me, I still love you.
I am by no means going to personally hate you, Mendel.
I want to make this clear. I love all of the businesses that have made their livelihood being a part of the community, and I think that Genesis is one of those frameworks that has done that. Okay, so I want to say that first off, right? But I think frameworks are dead. I think frameworks. There are two new frameworks, and those frameworks for theming are the native WordPress theming ecosystem, which is now becoming more and more related to Gutenberg on the user end, and then theming on the back end, and builders. right? Builders increasingly have more hooks. They have more opportunities to create customization within themes that can be done with a much easier user interface. They're becoming leaner. They're becoming easier to use, and they're becoming easier to add on to. So I think frameworks are toast, and the new framework is builders or just intense custom work done with like the existing theming tools for WordPress and Gutenberg.
Yeah, but I see where you're coming. Well, basically, I fundamentally disagree with you, Mendel, but I can see where you come from. You know,
I actually kind of agree with him.
I agree with
I
that.
don't. I
There was nothing in that
fundamentally
made me feel
disagree.
shocked.
But yes, all right.
Yeah.
I'll shut up and let Jonathan.
Let me finish, you pack of dogs.
You invited us, mate, and you know what we're like. So.
Yeah, no, I do. I get what I deserve, don't I? But there we are. The reason why I fundamentally disagree in some ways, but I do understand where you're coming from, is that, obviously we had another other great regular panelist, Morton, last week, and he's just built a new framework for WordPress. And I don't agree with everything Morton says, but he's definitely no fool, and he spent 6 months of a considerable part of his life to build a new framework. So I don't think he would have done that unless he... But the reason why I don't totally disagree with you, Mendel, which I should have said at the beginning, is that this kind of DIY, maybe advertising agency type user base, they're going to go to Page Builder. But then the Ashton theme is a perfect example. What is the Ashton theme? Because it is a theme, but also really for a lot of people, it's become a kind of quasar framework. So you get a lot of themes that in the end morph into kind of quasar framework. And then...
Yeah, Astra's a really great theme to use with builders.
It is a framework. It is a framework that you
builders.
everything with.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's a kind of quasar framework in its own right because they've built it out so much. But I know people like Sally and those that are doing a lot of custom work, they're building a site, multiple sites up, and they're not a graphic designer type working for a marketing agency. They're a real developer like John and Sally, and they're building either in for marketing agencies as subcontractors, or they're building full custom design for clients like Lee, like Sally, like John. They have a framework. Either they've built a framework themselves, or they use something like Genesis.
Right. And, I do actually use page builders to some degree on the sites that I build in.
Oh, you agree
Genesis.
with what I've just said, actually?
Yes, I think you're fairly on it because, page builders have a place, and Gutenberg definitely has a place. I like Genesis a lot, but, that doesn't mean it's the only thing that's useful. I'm curious to look at WP Rig that Morton has brought out. I know a lot of Genesis people who experiment around, and I also know that if I'm building a custom site for a client, I tend to want to include, what that client needs and not too much extra. But I also want to give them, a degree of freedom to, be creative with their layouts. And there are ways in which, doing it with Beaver Builder or doing it with Elementor is going to be a better experience for them than my spending the time to create something that works in a similar sort of way with ACF or with, the point of a custom site is to make it good for your client.
Yeah.
So if the builder is better for the client, that's what you use.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt again. I normally don't, but it's just also the thing that kept Genesis going. It's not the code based anymore. It's also this, and also Astra has it as well, with their Pro version. With Because with the Astra, you've got this library of themes that you can, with one click, you can, produce, and then you can edit. Really, that was the strength. That's what's kept Genesis going. It's not the code. Obviously you learn the Genesis way, and then you stick with it because you've learned this way, which isn't the vanilla WordPress way. It was done, which is quite clever. But also you have got a library of themes from StudioPress and also from third parties. So if you want to do a custom job, you got that option, and that appealed a lot to the Genesis StudioPress community as well. So there's a fair few factors here, yeah. But
and many of the new ones include much more in the way of customizer options and things. Some of the child themes are very nice. I have no idea how much of StudioPress's business is in, individuals who buy child themes. I think a lot of it is, however, driven by developers and implementers who, are accustomed to working with it and say, well, here I bought the whole package of child themes. This one looks like a good fit for my client.
Yeah, but they're all selling up. All these people that really started in the early days of WordPress and have built something. They're all selling up, from iThemes to StudioPress.
That's what happens. That's what happens in every industry, is that you get consolidation.
But at least with iThemes, right? They had a SaaS. They had real developers that were really developing things. Genesis had like one update a year. You know what I mean? What was really acquired?
They add quite a few themes, but there are a number of updates.
Well, no, the cloud themes are different. I'm talking about the core improvements to the framework. They do add child themes, but do they even add them themselves? That's really just the designer.
Some of them are third party. Many of them are core StudioPress, and you follow that Genesis contributions on GitHub. They are working on it continuously. There are various updates to the main framework and the parent theme, and I think few versions of the kind of starter child theme.
I think the big strength of Genesis was that I was never really, one of my lead developers knows a ton about Genesis, but I was never really into the Genesis ecosystem. But I've got to say, I would prefer to work with Genesis and StudioPress than some of these themes that you got from certain sources like Forest or something. Kind of your head kind of dropped down when you knew that they got one of these Swiss Army knife concoctions. Compared to that, I'll work with Genesis any day. So that's what I've got to say. I think the actual panelists look like they're going to drop off to sleep, actually, some of them. So I better get on to it. That's a sign I've got to get on to the other story. You got the whisk. Oh, you've got that feeling you need whiskey now, actually, Lee? Or
no, I'm still on the Coke Zero.
You're still on the Coke Zero, right?
WP-Tonic, sponsored by Coke Zero.
Yeah, you just wait to this next story, and then you're going to need a whiskey. Instagram launches IGTV app for creators. 1 hour video uploads. What do you reckon about this one, Adam? What do you reckon?
There's one right.
Are you going to become an Instagram, with 100,000 followers? Does it appeal to you?
Yeah, for people that really already have an Instagram following and they're very active on Instagram, and people that are interested in Instagram, obviously Instagram's huge. I think it's great that you can now make these videos and put them there, longer format videos. I think you used to be able to have short videos. Now you can have longer videos, but no one's going to Google and searching something and an Instagram videos popping up. So as far as I'm concerned, from what I accomplish and what most people use, YouTube for, Instagram makes no sense in that regard. But what it does make sense is providing content to an audience you already have there. Something I don't have, but there's a lot of personalities like Lee Jackson that might have 1 million followers there on Instagram, and he might want to have that easy way of getting to them. But how many easy ways do we need to get to people? I've got, I try to spread things out, but most of my action's on YouTube. So I do my YouTube Live. You were actually on a YouTube Live the other day. It was 1 hour and 40 minutes. It's a way of connecting to people.
Yeah, I thought you covered some fantastic stuff, actually. I think my bad spelling and my contribution just kind of confused you. But no, I thought you had a great discussion here. I think, what do you reckon, Lee? What do you reckon about this?
Well, I'm happy that Adam doesn't like IGTV because he's owned YouTube. So I've given up on YouTube. No, I'm joking. But yeah, for me, Adam's got a point. The second biggest search engine is YouTube. So that's where most people are going for help and information. And Adam's audience need help and information, and he does an amazing job at it. And that's exactly where Adam needs to be. I mean, he could, if he wanted to, annoyingly have to repurpose video. Like I've repurposed a video here on IGTV just to see what happened. But right now, I've only got 800, 900 following, 27 views, a little bit disappointing. 3 comments though, which is kind of nice, but it's obviously very early days. For me, my audience are design agencies who are very visual, and they spend a lot of time in Instagram. And I only realized that like a few weeks ago, like an idiot, not using Instagram for years. So I've been putting a lot of effort into Instagram. So for me, I'm well excited by it. And I also think all the cool kids, like all the young kids who are learning things about personal branding and realizing that they can share thoughts and opinions, etc., I think it's going to be a great space for them. And then you've got people like Gary Vee who've got 1 million people working for them. He'll be all over that as well. So you'll get a lot of the influencers on there. And I'm already seeing IGTV full of influencers that I know just appearing and sharing kind of 10, 20-minute long videos that I'm watching and listening to. So there's definitely a market for it, but yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, will it be like Vine and then die a death in the near future? Don't know.
I don't think that actually.
No, probably not. But yeah, I mean, I heard a discussion recently about our Instagram video is going to be a good thing for brands, and it's like, well, it kind of depends on your brand, doesn't it? If your customers are on Instagram, then it might be a good thing. And yes, you're going to need to make vertical videos for it, and you can't just necessarily repurpose what you're doing elsewhere. But for the people who are already there or who are starting to get into it because they've realized that their audience is there, then obviously it can be a useful tool.
Yeah, I agree because Lee, you did a podcast where you were talking about your social media and you've been looking at your analytics, and I thought it was a great podcast episode actually, Lee. And
where I confessed I've screwed up my social media for the last year.
I just think you were telling the realities of the situation. That you gave a little insight, and I thought it was a great episode actually. And there have been some other people I've been listening to. I've come to the conclusion that if you've got to find where your audience is, and at the most you can really be effective on two social media. And I would include podcasting as well. The idea that you're going to be effective on 3-4 different social media networks in any shape or form, apart from just doing general distribution of repurposing. Well,
yeah, not if there's only one of you.
If there's only, obviously, if you've got a team, obviously that's totally different. But if there's only one of you, the idea that you can be effective then on more than 2 social networks, you're totally deluding yourself.
I want to jump in with a piece of advice here. Because some people, they think, well, I'm just going to make one piece of content and put it on all these places. It doesn't really work like that. You know what? That's not going to motivate me to pick up my phone, go on Instagram and click follow and subscribe if I get the same thing there that I get over here. You have to. And the top creators, they all know this. It's a new job. If they want to go the IGTV route, they have to go and make specific content for that. Obviously, you're forced to with the different
the vertical,
aspect ratio.
It's vertical, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. But there's so many. It's like take your pick, right? Like email. If I want someone to subscribe to my email list, I have to provide something unique there to give them a reason to do that. YouTube, Facebook. So there's all these different things that you have to create unique content for. It's like a new job, man. Forget that for me. Anyway.
Yeah. What do you recommend, Mendel?
I think I think it doesn't make any difference. So what we're witnessing is Facebook trying to catch up with YouTube, with Google, right?
Yeah.
Like it's nothing. We're getting wrapped around it. We're like, oh, should we be here? Should we be there? Like they're having some epic like media war. Like who gives a shit, right? Like they're doing what they're doing. If something becomes a popular platform for the audience that I care about, great. I'll use their platform, right? But do something innovative, Instagram. Like you did something innovative.
Instagram is really good at copying things. You know, they copy stuff from Snapchat. And yet, you know, there are a lot of people on Instagram, so that method has been more or less working for them.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, for me to get really excited about it, like, do something interesting besides like, hey, now we're gonna have longer video. Like, who cares, right? Like, and there you get some voice cracking. That was fun, but like, who cares, right? It's just video. Like, it's not interesting. Like, make it beam it to my brain, and then you know, make it virtual reality through my phone waves or whatever. Like,
well, this is Facebook. They're probably attempting to do that, and to scrape the inside of your brain while they're at it.
And by the way, while I'm going off on Instagram, you guys got me on a good day where I'm drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah, I thought it was something stronger myself.
I think like I don't need another app. So stop giving me more apps.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't need a creator app. I don't need. Now I've got a YouTube creator app and a YouTube app, and then I've got a Instagram creator app or whatever the hell they're calling it, and an Instagram app, and like, just stop. Like,
yeah, that's a great point actually. Thanks for that, Mendel. That's just a great point. They just go bloody app crazy, aren't they? Freaking.
Mendel has just auditioned there for the US version of Grumpy Old Men. I love it.
There we go. There is only one.
All right, folks.
By the way, get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
As you sweetly so pointed out, Lee, there's only one grumpy old man on this show. We're going to go for...
Can I have one last point about IGTV before we go to break? The discovery interface is terrible, so you can't actually find anyone in there anyway. So it's got a long ways to go. So long live YouTube. Anyway, go.
Yeah, that's another great point as well. And people say, well, I heard people saying, well, it's early days. And I thought to myself, how much freaking money has this company got? And how many developers has it got? I think they could have done a slightly better job than this to start off with, but there's me being that grumpy old man again, isn't it? So we're going to go for our break, folks. We've got some more great stories. The panel on fire. It's just been a great discussion so far. We'll be back in a few moments. We're coming back, folks. We've had a great discussion. On to the next story. Oh, yeah. Learn the simple tactics I use to rank. Oh, God. Go on, Lee. For number one for my online marketing. John, you got to pay for this now. So tell us more about this post, John.
Sure thing. So this is a post. I swear I read this a long time ago. There's no date on this, but this is by Neil Patel.
The plagiarist.
Yeah, big deal, Neil.
The man that copies every story on the internet. God,
not everyone, but yeah, he's known for that. So it's really interesting. So this is kind of a humble brag article on, hey, I'm ranking #1 for this very competitive term.
Neil Patel.
Humble brag, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the two words really came together, really, do they?
I believe that's the point of the phrase.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm not going to interrupt anymore. Sorry.
It's modern slang for false humility.
I'm just out of all
yourself
this.
On the back, don't break your arm. Yeah.
Right.
But definitely, so there is some good tips in here about focusing on stuff that's already ranking. If you're already on page 1 or 2 for something, focus on those pages and make them better. Actually doing keyword research, looking at Google Search Console, and what you really want to do is you want to drive impressions up, because the more impressions of a result that you get, the more words that you rank for in that article, the different types of phrases that result comes up for, the more chances you are going to have of people clicking that. And if you beat the click-through rate for a specific position, then Google will, push you up a little bit higher. One thing that gets really super glossed over in this article, and what I want people to pay attention to, is like 90% of this article is focused on keyword research and improving your page and this, that. He not only ranks #1 for this, for online marketing, with the Quick Sprout article, but also he has another article on this site that ranks #2. I want to go down to the fourth part of this, where he kind of just mentions, getting backlinks from different places. You have to have good content. I just actually put out a video on this on YouTube. Go look it up, The Biggest Misconception in SEO. But the page that ranks #1 for online marketing, it's not just content. He has 10,000 links from 824 different domains. So that also plays as big a part as the content. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, I have to say that I get a lot of emails that follow the pattern that he recommends for people. And, delete,
Yep.
delete.
They only need 1 or 2% but if they just hammer
well,
it all
yes,
day long.
like any form of spam, as long as you send it to enough people, if only a tiny percentage respond, it's still enough.
Yeah, I was going to ask Adam. You went on a bit of a rant around Yoast lately, didn't you, Adam? And I'm getting fed up.
It's so easy to do.
I'm getting fed up with all these updates from Yoast. I thought you were being a little bit hard on them, and then all these freaking updates, all the freaking
they don't do any freaking quality assessment.
I've just had enough of it, really. I've actually been testing something else called, what's it called? Squirrely. I can't pronounce it.
Squirrely,
yeah. I've been looking at that, maybe.
Sounds like what happens after a curry.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like a dubstep artist.
Yeah, exactly. Where do they get these names from? This is what I want to know. Would have mentioned, have you had any other thoughts after your little rant about Yoast?
Well, the feelings that I have about Yoast were amplified after I put the video up, pointing out this problem and how, they didn't really make the effort that I think they should have made to let.
Because really, they don't care. They don't care. Fuck, do they?
Oh yeah, because you're obviously embarrassed. You want to sweep it under the rug. But then if you look at my video and you read the comments, there's so many people that had this happen to them. They actually saw my video because they didn't hear because they weren't properly notified, or they weren't notified in a way that was effective. So they saw my video. They were shocked. They looked. Their site had the bug. And, they were saying, well, why did my rankings go down? Now I know why my rankings went down.
Hold on, Adam, why did you post a video? Did you contact Yoast?
Why would I need to contact?
Because it's lame if you don't, right? Like you should contact the developer, right? Because I heard two people talk about like what sort of jerks they are, but like I know Yoast, right? And I know how stressed out they were about whenever there's a bug, right? They get stressed out, and it's like it's kind of like going on Twitter and like yelling at a company before you actually call them and say, hey, can you fix this problem? Or what's going on, or why don't you guys care, right?
Well,
So
in Adam's defense, this was after it had all happened, and he was educating people.
You
because
got to
not enough
understand the
people had heard
context.
about it.
They knew about this for 3 months. They didn't say anything about it. They had professional SEOs telling them on Twitter, telling them in blog posts, telling them on Facebook, there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem. And it took them it was like 2.5 months to acknowledge the problem, come up with a solution, and have some kind of secret way of letting people know, just so they could say they let people know, but they didn't really let people know because most people did not know. So my reaching out to them wouldn't have affected anything because they already had professionals in the field reach out to them on this issue. But I totally hear what you're saying about if you find a bug, you reach out. The problem is
but I bet one of them
hundreds of professionals found a bug and reached out.
Can I can I quickly say something, Mendel? I know where you're coming from. I think if it was a security bug, that in the area of security, I would totally agree with you, Mendel. There have been some occurrences of that where people have found a security bug in either a very popular plugin or in the core WordPress, and they're like just given like 1 day's notice and then they're gone public. I think that's totally out of order, and I would totally agree with you, Mendel. I've got to agree more with Adam about this. The only thing when I watched your video, Adam, is I thought the actual bug wasn't that extreme when you got into the nitty-gritty, but you've just said you had loads of comments from people, and it did affect their SEO and their position. And also, I've got to say, Mendel, Yoast have got a track record for this, and it ain't freaking very good. And I'm just getting fed up with all these updates from them. For God's sake, surely they only do one update 1 month or something. Not 8. I have no idea how many updates they've pushed out. What do you reckon, Lee?
Wait, hold on. I just want to respond to you really quick,
Right.
Lee. I'm sorry, but I like your post on Facebook. I dig that because you're stirring up controversy. It's good. I get what you're saying. I hear where you're coming from, and I believe that if there's a product that you're frustrated with, and they continuously do things that bother you, then don't use their product, right? But I also think it's important for somebody to contact the company and say, listen, I got a problem with how this is going down. And if they come back with a response and the response is, hey, listen, we don't really care, right? Then I say, like, that sucks. But it's never been the response I've gotten in support. And the people that have submitted support requests and actually talked about these issues, I can't think of one business in the WordPress space that I've done business with, paid business with, that has come back and said, I don't care about your issue, or I don't care that you're struggling with the product. Go fly a kite. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that like they're right or wrong or whatever.
You're totally
saying,
right.
like,
I think right.
we all owe it to the people that we're buying products from to talk to them about it, whether it's Microsoft, a gargantuan company like that, or a family-owned company like Yoast, right? I think we have a responsibility to talk to the companies, find out the background and get information back from them. And if we don't like their answer, then ditch them. And if it's hurting our business, then ditch them, right? I happen to think that you'd probably get a pretty favorable response.
Yeah, I follow what you're saying, because the couple of times I've approached Yoast, even on their free, the WordPress forum, they have replied, and it's been sensible replies. Well, what do you reckon, Lee?
Well, I have no idea how we got onto Yoast.
I decided to go. I decided to go that direction. That's why.
Well, I just want to answer Neil Patel's post for a start off, and I just think all these sorts of posts are way too much information, and the average entrepreneur in the world either just wants to pay someone to help them with their SEO, or just wants to get on doing the important things in life, which is building up relationships and doing business with people. And I get really sick of these really big long articles about how to game the system and get all of these amazing growth hacks and that from guys who are very rich, who have a big team working for them. And I think it creates this myth that we all have to be somehow freaking superhuman and always looking at our data and always testing and all of that sort of stuff. So just going full circle onto Neil Patel's album. He should release an album. That'd be interesting. His post. I just roll my eyes whenever I see this sort of stuff.
I'm gonna throw back to you the obvious here, but you made a whole episode about looking at your social media analytics.
I did, but not this sort of ridiculous stuff. You look at your analytics and you see what's working, but not this. Hundreds and hundreds of links, keyword research, 470 something. It's just ridiculous. Who cares? It's just ridiculous.
I suppose it depends on what you're going to get out of it. I mean, I think Lee's right that in most cases you're probably many businesses are going to get far more benefit from their personal relationships with other people than they are from putting that much time and effort into SEO. But some of them,
if you remember my
money is.
Exactly, and my entire article, my entire podcast, mate, was look at your numbers, but it's all about engagement. That's not what this boy's talking about. He's talking about pushing people down a funnel and selling them stuff, and I hate that sort of thing. But anyway,
and I think you've made
that's what grinds my gears.
Yeah,
I could be a Mendel too,
Isn't that sort of a British thing? Not like ragging on British folks, but isn't there sort of like this? Not ask for the sale, not be pushy, sell C type of thing. Is that kind of a British?
Yeah, we punch salesmen in the face. If you put me,
Adam, that's an everybody but you thing.
if I'm in a car shop, I get stressed.
People like to buy and hate to be sold to.
Yes, I like it. I buy from nice people.
Right, but I think you made a really great point there about how misleading in some way these kind of articles are, Lee, because he's wealthy, he's got an enormous team, and it's like Vanacek, they come out with this stuff, and what they don't tell people is that, I've got almost 80 people working for me knocking this stuff out. Of course I'm gonna get success and wealth, because obviously at some stage they didn't have 80 people and they were more similar to their target.
But Gary,
but that was
Gary V is freaking fixated. Most people do not have the man's temperament.
If I have 60 seconds here, Gary Vaynerchuk, like if you go and look at his early stuff, it's amazing where he's talking about giving like 51% of the relationship to get the 49 back, and the 1 is greater than 0 video. Those are like the peak of, to me, that's the peak Gary Vaynerchuk. But ever since he opened this VaynerMedia agency, a lot of this stuff that it's almost like this hero worship stuff. And I think that a lot of his videos, like recently, where it's like, I'm the sun and you have to orbit me. If you orbit me, you're going to soak up all this knowledge. It's like, come on, dude. And it's like, yeah, millennials are just so lazy. It's like millennials are not lazy. Lazy is not defined by a generation at all. To me, you have to realize that some of these videos where it's like, work for free for somebody for like 6 months, and then you'll get in their good graces and you'll get a break. That is not aimed toward you and me. That is aimed toward his staff. And Ramp.
He's basically saying he wants free staff.
Yeah.
Can you blame him?
People don't get it. It's not aimed toward you.
Come to work for me for free as well. Oh, Jesus. We live in interesting times, to say the least. It really.
I just want
to
really exciting show today.
Right. So I just introduced the Yoast because I thought it was linked to this whole thing, and we got Adam on the show, so I thought I'd stir it up. There we go. Shall I go with number 4? Shall I go with number 5? I don't know. What do you reckon of this story? Anybody wants to run with this one? LinkedIn taps Microsoft language skills for new trans. Oh, fuck it. I've had enough of that title.
Sounds
Anyway.
boring already, mate.
Yes,
Yes, I mean, interesting notion, and it shows, some of where LinkedIn is or where Microsoft is taking LinkedIn, but I don't know how much there is for us to talk about with it.
No, all right. So that's that one out. I had a brain fart. I apologise.
Comment ça va?
Oh God.
Hey, let's talk about Yoast again.
Oh God, thank you. Let's go.
I'm actually more interested in mobile web design.
Yeah, let's go for it. How mobile web design affects local search and what to do about it. Who wants to start off with this? Do you want to quickly go for it, John? Go on.
Yeah, I'll just give you the 30-second view. I mean, basically a lot of this stuff that's in this article is not only good for mobile, but it's going to be good for desktop. And in fact, I mean, really, if you're not designing for mobile first, at this point, I don't know what to do with you, because more people have mobile phones than anything else. Everybody on earth is a phone. A lot of this stuff is common sense. Like, use schema. I mean, if you use Yoast, you're going to have schema. Designing your metadata. I mean, honestly, like, Google gets a lot of this information anyway in the knowledge graph. They know that you're a business. They know where your locations are from other things beyond schema. I think it can help, but I think it's, people give it a lot more powers than it actually has.
What's that?
Well, it's,
sorry.
5 or 6 years ago, schema was really a magic bullet, but
yeah,
that was then.
And what's the schema? Yeah, schema.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, but what's this?
You're a schema and a dreamer.
It is actually a long E in schema.
Schema, I'll call
I'm
it.
British.
But I just want to quickly interject, John. What's this? What's the name of this Google technology? These pages they make. What's its title?
Oh, the AMP.
AMP. And I was talking to another SEO person that I know that's a friend of mine, and he's just going on, and he's the third SEO individual I've been doing work with, as that just goes on a bend how great it is. And I think it's evil incarnated. I think it's one of the worst freaking ideas that Google's come out in a long while.
Which was actually what I was going to say. What really, on a practical level, is designing for mobile first? Meaning,
nobody does it. I can tell you that.
Because nobody does it, Adam. That's why. You'd be amazed. We're in 2018, Adam, and you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed the couple of clients that I work with John's help that are. And they never even discuss it, Adam. It's quite amazing. And we try and bring it up and dies on deaf ears. But you'd be amazed, Adam. Absolutely amazed.
No, a lot of this stuff in here is just common sense.
He's frozen. I think he was in such a state of shock that he couldn't cope with it, John.
But it's like, have a map, have locations, just think geo-targeting. I mean, these are like pretty basic things.
I was going to ask.
There's a lot of people that don't know what they don't know. So these are actually really,
I mean, Smashing Magazine is good at doing these kind of thorough treatments of stuff where, if you've done any of the development or if you've thought about doing it, then it seems like, well, yeah, this is obvious. And yet, the stuff that's obvious to us isn't obvious to everybody. And given the number of people who are like barely considering mobile at all, never mind first in their designs, clearly there's still a need for some education about this.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can tell you this. I mean, I work with and I'm not really doing it like at this point, but over the last, 5 years or so, when I worked with different agencies across the map, none of them do mobile designs. It was always came down to, oh, okay, you're building it out. Here's our Photoshop, and mobile first design was like never ever a thing. That was like, on yours truly to figure out. So I can tell you, I don't see that happening, in web design at all still. So
it's quite amazing. Mendel, you got any thoughts about this at all? And
Nope.
no, got nothing. Have some more coffee.
No, I'm out on this one. I got to give a little reprieve. Otherwise, Lee's going to keep posting trash talking on
Facebook.
I know. Well, Lee, I know you do a bulk of your works for other graphic designers agencies, but that's a good point, really. Does the mobile first discussion, is that number one?
It is really fashionable for agencies to say mobile first, but they don't do
I
it.
have no idea what that means.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that's
say
like
mobile first.
It's a buzzword. It's a buzzword.
It is absolutely a buzzword. People don't necessarily design for mobile. In fact, it's more common to receive all of the designs as desktop, and then we are asked to simply make the decisions as developers on what it should do
I
as
mean,
it goes down.
Forget mobile first. Getting designers to do mobile at all is tough. And I've heard from some of the designers that their clients don't want it. It's their clients are asking them for desktop designs and not for, give me 3 views of this or let's start with how this is going to look on a phone, because that's where at least half of our people come from.
But they should be
sort of article to go to the client just to educate them as well.
Yeah, don't wait for the client.
Yeah.
So does mobile first mean having a separate mobile experience where the main site it's not mobile responsiveness, it's a different experience? Is that kind of what we're saying here?
Well, it's a mix of the two, because I mean, responsive means that everything will automatically kind of flow depending on the width and the height, etc. But actually having some specific decisions is important with regards to the mobile. For example, the call to action front and center right at the very end, I'd put that right at the very top, is and your navigation being within view and not making people scroll too much. All of these really obvious things. If you just design something that will automatically stack, you could have a page that's a mile long, and it's ridiculous. So
right,
there are things that people should do that don't.
Right, but yeah, I mean, really, I think what mobile first is about is basically what direction you write your CSS in. Do you start with the mobile and then add media queries for desktop, which is mobile first, or do you start with the desktop and add media queries for mobile? And if you start with the mobile version and that's the core of things, and that's what you're thinking about, to begin with, and then say, well then, okay, if I have more space, how do I then lay this out? It is going to change the approach you take because of just those things that Lee says, where people who are designing for the desktop first aren't necessarily thinking, especially if they're not, if they're designers who don't write CSS, they're not thinking about, what's going to most naturally happen is that this thing over here in the sidebar that I want to be really prominent and visualizing as being paired with this thing in the main content area is actually going to end up on the bottom. And people aren't going to see it, and I can't put necessarily all of my calls to action and ads over in the sidebar because folks might not get to it. I need to have stuff integrated into the content area, or I need to have certain things that only show up on my mobile site, and certain things that only show up on the desktop site. And it does make a lot of logical sense to start with the smaller version first, but it's hard because designers are not making their designs on their phone, they're making their designs on their 4K screen.
That and also to do it right, it will mean more time, more effort means more money. So in some ways it's easier in bandwidth, time, money.
I suppose that depends on whether your designer or your developer is more expensive. Exactly.
But no, in general, I still say that in money and design, it is in the long term, it's a more expensive decision. In the short to medium term, it's easier to take a design that's been designed for desktop and have a developer do something that's acceptable, but it hasn't really been totally thought out, and get it up rather than spend all the time and effort from mobile to desktop. That's my
right. And then they come back and say, why is nobody responding to my call to action? Yeah, well, that's because it's at the bottom of a 40-foot long screen on their phones.
Yep, that's it. You go. Sorry, Lee.
Of course, there's me saying don't look at the data like what's his face, Neil Patel, when he's gone ridiculously in depth. But this is one time when it is actually a good idea to look at the data. So you look at the old website and you have a look at what are the most popular devices being accessed. If you are a local coffee shop, you're probably going to have 70% of people actually finding you via an app and jumping on your website that way. So it's actually really important that you're mobile friendly. However, like my website, believe it or not, we actually get 95% desktop visits and only 5% on mobile, which is random. But then that's because mostly design agencies are on their 4K screens checking out my website. So it's less important for me to be worrying about mobile friendly than it's going to be for the local coffee shop.
You know, it's the same actually on my website, when the same kind of ratio, maybe 90 desktop, 85 desktop, and the rest mobile. So I do pay less attention to it, but of course I do want the experience, no matter what someone's using, to be a good one.
Yes.
Right, I think it's been a great show. Really enjoyed it. It's time to wrap it up.
Yeah, we could clearly talk for another hour, but I'm not sure people want to listen.
I think it's been a good discussion. Mendel, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to, Mendel?
Well, hey, really good question. You can go to.
I finished the show with a good question, didn't I?
Yeah, one that's not controversial. So check me out at If You Will It on Twitter. You can also check me out there on Facebook if that's your thing. And you can see the cool stuff that I've been up to with my employer GoDaddy at godaddy.com/pro.
And thanks for coming on the show, Mendel. It's much appreciated. And Adam, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
Yes, my website's WPCrafter.com. Most of the action's on YouTube, youtube.com/WPCrafter. The channel just hit 60,000 subscribers a few days ago, and I'd love to have you
Congratulations.
the next one. Thank you, guys.
It's great, and Adam does a great job on the videos and his live discussions. I was part of one yesterday or the day before. It all merges, and it was a great discussion. Lee, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
You can find out more about me on agencytrailblazer.com/podcast. Because that's where it all happens with regards to me. I'm not as beautiful as Adam, therefore I hide behind a microphone instead. So that's the best place.
And you've been doing some great podcasts, and I've been listening to them, and
Thanks,
you've been doing a great job.
We are on YouTube, 302 subscribers as of today.
Oh, that's really good.
Instagram's winning.
Sally, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
You can find me at WPFangirl.com. You can find the meetup at eastbaywp.com. We're talking about membership plugins at our next meetup in July. And I am at Sally Getch on Twitter. If you can spell my name, you can find me anywhere except Facebook.
And John, how can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
2 places. Before I tell you, I want to say keep subscribing to Adam. He only needs 40K to get his Silver Creator Award from YouTube. He's going to be the first one here to get it, so it's inevitable. 2 places you can find me, my website, which is lockdownseo.com, and you can also find my YouTube channel. It's got 84 subscribers, but, hey, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. How do the people find you, Jonathan?
Go to the WP-Tonic website, go to my YouTube channel, which I think it's got 297 subscribers. Got a bit more journey to go than Adam. But go to, we've got some great materials this month on learning management systems, membership, and the questions are getting people to your membership website. We've got some great articles. I've been knocking them out. And we've got some great content. And join us on this podcast. We have lively discussions. And every Wednesday I have an individual interview with somebody in the internet world that can offer some insights that help you in your pursuit of building your online business or membership site. that's my take on it. So we're going to wrap up the show today, folks. It's been a great discussion. I've really enjoyed it, and hopefully you can join us next week. Even join us live at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. Go to the WP-Tonic Facebook page and you can watch it live. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap.